What's going on, guys? Kalipis Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the BLU V91 and going over what kind of value you get for your money when you buy this phone. So let's get into it. So this phone has a 6.5-inch IPS LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 270, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen to body ratio of 82.3%. I do have the brightness at 100% right now, and I would say the display does look really good. The back has an interesting texture to it, and the finish doesn't really pick up fingerprints, so I am glad about that. Overall, the size of this display, in my opinion, is pretty much perfect. At 6.5 inches, it is a pretty large display, so it's going to be perfect for stuff like content consumption, whether you're streaming videos, reading, viewing photos. All of it is going to be better on a larger display like this, but at the same time, it's not so large that it's uncomfortable to carry around or to hold in your hand. And to add to that, the design of the phone itself is pretty thin, and since it's not too bulky, you're really hardly even going to notice it when you have it in your pocket. For the front-facing camera up here, we got a hole punch design that I really like. The phone already has a nice modern look to it, and the hole punch camera really adds to this and makes it look even cleaner. And this camera is 16 megapixels, so not only does it look nice aesthetically, but it also takes really good photos. This phone has 128 gigabytes of internal storage with micro SD card expansion, and for this phone's price range, this is pretty much at the top. You're not going to get any better than this with a brand new phone as far as storage goes. There are phones out there that have 256 or even 512, but those are really only the top of the line flagship phones like the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra or the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Those phones are really the only ones that have more than 128 gigabytes as far as internal storage goes. Now with micro SD card expansion, you can actually have more than 128 gigabytes worth of stuff on this phone. So if you're more of a power user, if you have not only a lot of apps, but also lots of photos and videos and that sort of media, maybe you have music or something like that too, it's really gonna help to be able to use a micro SD card too. This phone does not have wireless charging, but it does have a fingerprint scanner right here on the back for security, as well as face unlock. So let's give this fingerprint scanner a try and see how it works. We are all locked up right now. And there we go. One more time. And there we go. So as you can see, this fingerprint scanner is really fast and responsive. No issues there. It works really well. For the rear camera setup, we have a 16 megapixel rear camera, a 5 megapixel ultra wide camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. So real good stuff. This phone has pretty much every camera feature available on entry-level phones, and even quite a few phones that are more expensive than this one don't have all the features that this one does as far as the camera goes, so that's something to keep in mind. In addition to that, take a look at this photo taken by the rear camera of this phone. This photo is really high quality, good sharpness, and the lighting is handled by the sensor really well. So all in all, it's a really nice photo, and for the level that this phone is at, it is really impressive. So whether you're a more casual user of the camera and only really like to take a couple photos here and there, maybe something with portrait mode or something simple like that, or you're more of a frequent user and like to use the advanced tools like an ultra-wide camera or the macro camera, this phone is going to have a little something for everybody. As far as video goes, this phone can shoot in 1080p in both the rear and front cameras, but be aware that the display is only 720p, so when you're viewing your videos you shoot on this phone, they're only going to show up in 720p, but of course if you put it on another device, you'll be able to see them perfectly fine. Internally, the BLU V91 is getting 4 gigabytes of RAM with the MediaTek MT6 762V processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on the phone and it came back with a single core score of 139 and a multi-core score of 856. Now this is one area where it's a little bit more questionable whether or not you're really getting the most out of the money you spend on this phone. Now if processing power isn't that big of an issue for you, if you're only using the device for basic activities like sending text messages, making calls, maybe some light web browsing and social media use, then this isn't really going to matter a whole lot. But if you are looking for a phone with lots of processing power, in this price range you can still do quite a bit better. One of the best features of this phone is its battery. This phone has a 5000 milliamp hour battery that supports 10 watt fast charging. So this battery is actually really big. You're going to be able to get a lot of life out of this throughout the day and down the road. As far as longevity goes, you're not going to notice this phone's battery degrading nearly as quickly as you would with like an iPhone 12 that only has a 2815 milliamp hour battery. So if you like to keep the same phone for a really long period of time without replacing it, then having a phone like the BLU V91 that has such a large battery is going to be a real good asset to you. As far as software goes, this phone does have Android 10, and typically phones like these don't get updates. So if you do want the latest version of Android as it comes out, then you're going to be disappointed with this phone. So in conclusion, when you spend $189 on the BLU V91, what are you getting for your money? Well, I think you're getting a lot of value. This phone has pretty much the perfect size display and a really nice looking design overall that's not too bulky to carry around in your pocket or to hold in your hand. It's a real easy, comfortable phone to use. Whether you're doing more simple things like reading or viewing photos, or you're streaming a lot of videos, the design and display of this phone is gonna work out for pretty much everybody. This phone also has a huge amount of storage that you can use for whatever you want, whether you have a lot of apps or lots of photos and videos, or maybe some music or something like that. You're really unlikely to run out of storage on this phone. In addition to that, this phone also has a really good camera setup that can take high quality photos, and it has an enormous battery that's gonna last for a really long time, both throughout the day and over the years. The only shortcoming of this phone, I would say, is the processor, and that's not because the processor is bad. It's more because other phones in the same price range tend to have more power than this one. So in comparison, it's not the most impressive. But at the same time, just considering it by itself, I've had no performance issues no matter what I've done on this phone, and it still does run really well. So overall, for the money, I would say the BLU V91 does provide you with a lot of value in 2021. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you found this information useful as well. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.